Namaste and welcome to the show. Whether this is your first time here or you are a regular subscriber to Live, Love, Engage, I am so glad to be with you and just glad that you're here today. For those of you who may be new, I just like to again introduce myself. I am Gloria Grace, light messenger and spiritual alignment coach, and I work with women entrepreneurs, helping them to clear the inner blocks keeping you stuck so you can live the life you want now, not later, now. And today I've got a really great guest that I connected with a while ago, and I'm so delighted that she's going to be here enlightening us today. Her name is Christine Franklyn, and she is founder of the Good Living Network, and she helps fellow coaches, therapists, and other passion-driven entrepreneurs grow their businesses without frustration, applying proven marketing strategies in a way that's aligned with them, which I love. So that aligns with me as well. She's also a co-author of 2 best-selling books, and she's the host of her own podcast, the Reclaim Your A Game podcast. So I'm going to, without further ado, bring on Christine and officially welcome you to Live, Love, Engage.
Thank you, Gloria.
Well, I'm so interested in having you share your story because as I said, we're definitely in alignment in helping. I think we both want to help our clients to be able to be the best that they can be and help them grow a business that's in alignment with themselves. So could you share with our audience a little bit about your story and really what got you interested in doing the work that you're doing now?
Sure. Well, thank you for having me, first of all, and thank you for giving me an opportunity to share, because there may be some pieces of my journey that may, resonate with some people who hear it and think, oh, yeah, that sounds familiar. So I come from a 22-year career in marketing. And as a marketing manager, loved my job, absolutely loved my job, loved the world of marketing. And I took too much on. So my plate kept getting fuller and fuller before I even realized what was happening. I just knew that I didn't like how I felt. I didn't like the fact that I hardly had a personal life. I didn't like the fact that I felt like I was always in overdrive mode and my brain was never shutting off. And eventually I got burnt out and I thought, this is no way to live. I realized I was just forgetting some things that were really important to me personally. And I just knew I had to make a change. So I took a huge leap of faith and I left that job, which nobody could believe because they used to say, boy, you are this role, this is the perfect role for you. But I knew I had to do it. So that was one of my first lessons in making tough choices that serve myself first, to ensure that I can give the best of myself in the future and I can be at my best. So that's something that I'm very passionate about sharing with other people now. And along the way, I realized I really wanted to help others manage stress, because it seemed like so many people around me, so many executives and entrepreneurs had normalized stress. And I would look at them and I'd be thinking, this is not normal. I know this is not normal. I really want to help in some way. And it's very common, but it's not the way it's meant to be. So there is a difference. And I became a certified integrative nutrition health coach with a focus on helping others to manage stress and avoid burnout. And it's a really funny journey because along the way, I kept hearing my fellow health coaches talking about how frustrated they are with their marketing, how they're tired of the online merry-go-round that they were on. And the groups that I was in with fellow healers, in those groups, I would offer just suggestions because I came from a marketing background, totally innocently, and they would want me then to help them. And so this other side of my business started when I thought I had moved from marketing to helping others with stress. I ended up helping with stress in a very unprecedented way for me. I just had not thought that this was the way it was going to go. And that's essentially how I ended up doing what I'm doing. Totally unplanned, just literally putting one foot in front of the other and responding to needs that I saw. And that was it.
So many good lessons that you're sharing right there. I mean, and we've only been talking for you've only been talking for a few minutes, but I there's just love the importance of number one, following your intuition and trusting that even though people were like, looking at you like you're crazy, giving up that job, and yet you're like, no, this is what I need to do for myself. And I love that you value yourself enough to be able to put yourself first and to really uh, honor that the stress that you're under isn't serving you. So that was good. But then I love how the universe has a way of having things work out like this. So it's like you come back around to still being able to tap into the marketing expertise that you have, but now you're doing it and serving other people. I want to ask you, what's been let's see, what's been your favorite thing about that? Or maybe, no, actually I'm gonna change that. What's been the most surprising thing that you may have come across in now doing that type of work that you're helping other coaches and things like that?
So before in my 9 to 5 career, I was used to, having campaigns and being the point person for the media and all these various people. And I was always wearing so many different hats. And because I enjoyed it, I used to do it like it was second nature.
Mm.
And that was like a whole other world compared now with helping coaches and so on. It's a completely different experience, even though I still talk about marketing. And what was really surprising to me is how easily I combined everything that I had learned about managing stress from my own experience, from my health coach training, with the marketing assistance and guidance and advising that I am now doing, because my clients consistently walked away with a sense of relief. And I say walked away because it's not ever really walking away, because they always come back. They always see me as the go-to person, and they'll tell me, Christine, I know you can break this down for me. When they encounter something new, there's always some new trend in the online world, and they'll contact me and they'll say, okay, either it seems like I need this now, so please help me, or please break this down for me so I can understand what in the world this is all about and tell me if I really need it. And I never expected to be that kind of resource for anyone. And it's so fulfilling, it's so rewarding. And that indeed was the most surprising thing that I've found, is that I can give a sense of relief in this way. And it's stress management in a different form.
Absolutely. So let's talk specifically about what business owners out there, and whether you're a health coach or you're whatever business you're in, stress does come up, and having to manage your marketing and all of these things, and being able to just handle all the different roles that come with being a business owner. What is maybe your top technique that you would recommend someone implement in order to avoid burnout?
Well, ironically, I would recommend setting aside time for yourself. And I don't
Mm.
mean just for self care. I know we hear all the time about the importance of having a self care routine and doing it regularly, but I mean time to tune in. It can even be 2 minutes, but just have some non negotiable time. And it doesn't have to be the same time every day, but just know in the back of your mind, I need to set aside time today just to take a breath and tune in to feeling how everything feels to me. Because we constantly have so many things coming at us. We have messages we need to respond to. Many of us have had business coaches. I surely have had business coaches, and each one has a different strategy that they recommend. And with that come all the to-dos that we have. And so we constantly have all these things floating around in our minds, and all these things upon our walls, and it's a lot. It's really a lot, and it can be overwhelming. So in the midst of that, and I'm all about not going into a should energy, not being stuck in that where you're just following all these things that people are telling you to do. It's really about taking time, even as people are advising you, even as I'm advising. I tell people all the time, take it and see how it feels to you.
Mm.
and then make your decision about where it's best to spend your time and energy. Make a very intentional decision about that. No matter how good some strategy sounds, it made somebody $1 million in a year. That's great for them. Doesn't mean that that's your path. You
Right.
may get to the $1 million, but that's not the path. Their path, which is what people usually teach, is not necessarily your path. And there are probably elements in there that you can take and you can adapt. So just tune in so you can know what those are and feel what's aligned to you. You always feel it. It's just a matter of taking the time to pay attention.
Yeah, that is so important. And I'm going to play a little devil's advocate here, though. Is what would you say to someone who's like, "Ah, I don't even know what that even looks like. You know, I how can I even just carve out 2 minutes a day? And even if I did, what is that? What am I supposed to do? Just sit there? I mean, what should someone really be focusing on when you say like to go within or something? What and because some people I think are just they're just not tuned into their body. So what advice can you give those types of people?
I recommend making it the first thing you do if you're not sure whether you can do that. Because after the day starts
Mm,
running away with you, then it's pretty difficult to pull back if you're not used to doing that.
mm,
So the easiest place to start is probably literally before your feet hit the ground. You
mm,
know, you don't have to go anywhere, you don't have to do anything special. But before you literally hop out of bed and start on that routine and start going, you can take literally 2 minutes to just lie there
mm,
and just be quiet for a moment, and thoughts will start to flood into your mind for sure.
mm,
So you don't have to try to do anything. And as those thoughts start to flood into your mind, start to sift through them and think, okay, so yes, I have this thing to do, which is probably one of the things that will come into your mind.
right.
How do I feel about it? Am I excited to do it? Is that something I'm dreading? And that's where it starts. That's
Mm,
literally all you need to do.
mm,
So if you're not sure you can fit it in, you're not sure when, and maybe you try and then you have a problem doing it sustainably, first thing in the morning.
mm.
It's easy that way.
Yeah. Do you recommend, because I know I've done this and I've am working with coaches myself that have told me about the importance of doing this, and I know other people have well, even guests I've had on the show have talked about the importance of visualization, and it seems
Mhm.
like that would be maybe one thing that, especially in the morning, first thing before you get out of bed, to just start envisioning, like, "How do I want my day to go?" What do you think about
Definitely.
that?
Definitely. Oh, that's so important. That's a real gem because as you start to picture it, you start to visualize it, then you automatically start to commit to it without realizing. And you really feel the energy of how much this thing that you're visualizing means to you, how much relief and joy you can have in your day if it would go this way that you want it to go. So the next step is automatically going to be, okay, so how can I do this? That's going to be the thought, right? You're going to ask yourself that question. And everything just flows from there. So that's a great place to start. And it's really important to visualize what's important to you, not to visualize getting all the to dos on your list done, which of course we all would love to do, but we never really do.
Right?
It's really about what would bring you joy in your day, what would make it
Mm,
a day that you feel excited about getting up and getting into.
mm.
And if you can get that picture in your mind, trust me, it will stay there. It will stay there all day long.
Yeah, absolutely, and I do feel that one of the great things, and I've one of the people I love following is, he's an author and a speaker, Mike Dougal. He always
Mm.
talks about, um, avoiding the cursed hows, and so rather than focusing so much on how am I gonna get this done, just again, just stay in that openness of this is how I want my day to go. This is how I want it to look like. This is how I want it to feel. And don't worry about how it's going to get done because, as you said, once you start focusing in on what it's going to look like, automatically your brain will start coming up with how to be able to make that happen. But if
Yes.
you, I think the trick is not stressing over it.
Yes.
you know? Yeah.
That's exactly it. Yes. That's very similar to something I heard Lisa Nichols say, actually, where she said, even with your big goals and your big dreams, don't worry about the how. The how
Mm,
is what stresses us. We
yeah.
start to think, oh, in the past, I've failed when I've tried this, and I don't know where I'm going to find the money to do that. And we start coming up with all of these blocks, which I'm sure, you probably talk
Oh,
about
yeah.
all the time.
Yeah.
And that just sends us into this loop of worrying and self sabotage, actually,
Mhm.
because that becomes our focus.
Right.
So it's much more aligned to really just have that picture and that feeling of how you want your life to feel, how you want your business to feel, and then everything else flows from there.
Yeah.
So, and that's hard. It's hard
Yeah.
not to worry about the how.
Well, absolutely, absolutely, and I don't want people to think that, you know, there's that it's not just there. I can get my brain to connect with my mouth, it would be so much easier. It'll be helpful if that will happen. But sometimes my brain goes too fast. But what I
That
wanted
happens to me.
to what I want to be able to say is that there are still challenges that are going to come up in your
Yep.
business. Challenges are going to come up in your personal life, and that you have to be able to still uh, maneuver. So I would love to know from your side is what has been maybe a particular challenge that you've had to face, and then how did you overcome it so that, you know, as opposed to letting it defeat you, how were you able to, you know, not let it defeat you? Let's put it that way.
Well, I am a bit of a type A person, right? So I'm not a full on type A personality, but I definitely have that action oriented, go getter type of energy. And so for me, one of the hardest things I had to learn is how to pull back and how to give myself grace. How ironic, I'm saying grace. But that was one of the hardest lessons because I am my biggest critic. So, first of all, in my head, I'm setting up all sorts of challenges for myself, right? Because I want this thing to go perfectly and I feel like I should be achieving this thing by this time. That's how I used to be. And I learned along the way to be much kinder to myself and to filter everything through the lens of how I want my life to feel. And once I set up that filter, then I started to literally almost just put things side by side. And I think, okay, this is the life that I visualize for myself. This is what I really want. And then there's this thing that has been introduced into my life or suggested, or this path that I'm thinking of taking. How do the two of those fit? How are those aligned? Do those go well together? Can I make the two of those work, or am I trying too hard to make a square peg fit into a round hole, right?
Mhm.
So I had to learn to just set up that filter for myself and to not get sucked into my type A side of my personality and just keep running. I could easily just keep running with it. Believe me, I could go full steam ahead and I can be very determined. And so that was one of the hardest lessons I had to learn. But setting up that filter in my mind just really gave me a tool,
Mm.
essentially to use constantly. So that has really worked well for me.
Mm, very good. Well, I appreciate you being able to share that with our audience because I'm sure there's quite a few other people out there who have the same tendency as you are to want to do that. And even though I don't necessarily consider myself a type A personality, but I'm also, I would say, like to say a recovering perfectionist. So I do like to be able to, you know, want to be able to ensure that things are going to turn out right, and
Mhm.
sometimes to spend too much time on them
Right.
as opposed to just being let it go and just know it's good enough for now and you can always improve things later.
Yes.
It's something you have to learn in this lovely journey that we have as entrepreneurs.
Yes.
What is a commonly held belief about, let's say, about either stress or entrepreneurship in general that you passionately disagree with?
Hmm. Well, apart from all the shoulds, you should do this, you should do that. One of the things that really gets me is social media. Not that I'm against social media,
Mm,
but everything that is preached about how consistently, not consistently, because consistency is good, how constantly you
mm,
need to post. I say consistently is better because you decide what your consistent schedule will be. And I think that's one of the things, because I work a lot with content, that's one of the things that really gets to people, the social media aspect, wanting to show up regularly, and they hear all the recommended times, 3 times a day is recommended and all of that. Yet they don't see the results to go along with all that effort they're putting in. That's extremely common. And there are recommendations I can make to get better results. But at the end of the day, it's consistency that's most important. And it's about having a schedule that you can feel like you can manage, or that you're happy with, or that you can enjoy, that you can actually enjoy what you're doing rather than stressing over having to produce these reams of content constantly and not really wanting to. And then that's the energy you bring to it, because
mm,
at the end of the day, that's what people will still pick up on. Even if you're not on video,
mhm.
even in written content, people can pick up on that energy of, I'm just trying to get this thing out there, but I'm
Yeah,
not really into it.
absolutely. I mean, I've seen that in my own, posts in the past where there's things that when I've when I get into wanting to tell a story and I don't necessarily I'm not doing it necessarily to get engagement. It's really just more about, I just wanna share about the story about something that happened, and then that will get more engagement over something
Yes.
where I really spent my heart and soul and, like, I really wanted to be able to get this message out and
Yes.
be it have it be, like, more instructional. So, yeah, I think if people can relax about it and focus more on sharing from the heart, and I think that gets back to when you're talking about being in alignment, uh, to just yeah, to be able to speak from the heart and not obsess about, "Okay, yes, I have to get 3 posts done," or something, but just find the schedule that works for you that you can be happy about.
Yes.
Is there anything else, along those lines? Have you found maybe, a mistake that people make, maybe a common mistake that some of your clients have made and how you've been able to help them turn that around?
Well, typically it comes back to all the various bits of advice that my clients get or have had in the past,
Mm,
and trying to filter through that. So, for one practical example, I had a client who was about to launch a new program, and she wanted her website to be up to scratch, which is what I helped her with beforehand. So, her website was good. Now, she was still trying to, at least in terms of the content, the copy, and so on, but she was now trying to really take the look of it, the design of it to another level. And so I have a web developer that I work with, and this is why my business is called the Good Living Network, because I always have somebody to refer somebody on to. And she spoke to the web developer, and she made really great suggestions. I know she's extremely talented at web design, and everything she recommended definitely would have boosted her online presence and so on. But she really felt in her heart that she wanted to launch this program by a certain time, and making all those changes and essentially looking at rebranding and that kind of thing would take a while. And I told her, you know, just take a step back and consider whether you think you actually need everything in this moment to be able to deliver this program, to have people respond to you when you put this program out there. And she thought about it and she said, yeah, I just really want to get it out there. And I said, don't let anything derail you. You can do things step by step. but don't let what seems to be a great idea, which it is, then stop you from helping others, which is what you want to do, which is what you were put on this earth to do. People respond to the heart and the energy that you put into whatever you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't need all the bells and whistles right away. You can add those as you go. I'm a big believer in just doing things step by step. And so that's something that I recommend to any entrepreneur. Approaching anything with a step by step approach, keeping the focus of why you're doing what you're doing front and center, and making everything else secondary. Using it, yes, to help, using it to improve, but recognizing that at the core of it, you are meant to do what you're meant to do. And it will work out because people will respond to that energy that you bring to it. So that is what counts for more than anything else. And that's like my typical advice. Essentially, I just end up saying that in different ways to different clients according to their situation. But that's
Yeah,
essentially what it comes down to.
absolutely. Oh, I agree 100%. And just as a case in point, when I started my business as an SEO copywriter, I'm helping businesses with their content on their websites. I did not have a website when I first launched my business, and I was
Wow.
able to get clients even without a website, even though you would think that that would be something that would be a priority to be able to show people that, yes, I know how to write for my own website. But I just, it was taking me a while to get it going. And I knew that I had enough knowledge and skill to still be able to help people anyway, even without the website. So even though I wished I'd had it, I got it done eventually. And so I'm so love that you're telling her to be able to really think about it and say, what is the priority here? Is it helping people, or is it having this beautiful website that, yes, will be great, but if you can help people now, you can get the website going, later, a little bit
Yeah.
later, and not have it be everything have to be done now. We're so impatient sometimes, aren't we? I think.
We are.
It's like we
We
want it
are.
done. We want everything perfect now. Doggone it.
And it's funny because I said, don't let it derail you. And she said, that's exactly how I felt. I felt
Mm,
like I was getting derailed.
yeah.
And when you feel like that, that's a sign. That's a sign that you can get back on track. Just leave the other things aside, get back on your path.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Um, One of the things that I'd like to ask our guests on the show is, because I'd love to see the different responses that I get. So, what are you curious about right now?
So many things. So let me pick one. Well, I am curious about AI and how it's all going to evolve because
Mm,
I'm very much about human interaction, right? And having the human element in your copy. And definitely it's still needed, even with AI. There's no machine that can replace a human being. But I'm just curious to see where it will go because it seems so pervasive. Um, it just in terms of our human experience, what's going to happen eventually? It's just something that I'm watching with real curiosity and waiting to see how it will evolve.
mm. Yeah, it is definitely moving so fast, and it's so tempting to want it to create all of this like content for you. I myself am using it more for suggestions, like topic ideas and things like that, because you're right. I still feel that as lovely as some of it sounds, and you can have it right in a conversational style, and or right even like in the style of some person, some coach or something that's out there, but it still needs to have your voice no matter
Yes.
what. And that's what concerns me sometimes, is that it seems, well, now it's creating literal voices that sound like people, but Yeah, we can go down a whole rabbit hole, so let's not go there, but just yeah, just know it
Yeah.
use it as a tool, but don't have it replace you because you
Yeah.
are still unique, and what your clients are gonna respond to is you. Because they're still gonna be dealing with you. So
Yeah,
they want to know how you can help them, and so just keep that in mind. Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
That's great advice. Yes, I totally agree.
Mm.
I just wish that in the course of everything that evolves, that there would be more evolving that brings us back to the basics.
Yeah.
It's great to have things that make life a bit more convenient, make things faster and easier.
Mhm.
But as we've seen more and more technology come into play, there's an increasing disconnect with self. And so that's the perspective that I'm bringing to it. That's why I'm so
Mhm.
curious,
Yeah.
because I don't know where we'll end up. It's
Mhm.
harder and harder to bring people back to self and
Yeah.
remember the things that are truly important to us as human beings.
Mhm.
So,
Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah, that's just something that I constantly talk about because I just feel like there need to be reminders. As many flashy news articles there are out there about everything new that's happening with technology and so on, there need to be as many voices
Mhm.
equally reminding that we need to stay connected to self.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, there's still nothing. I don't care. Whatever, robots still can't replace a human. We have a heart and a soul,
Yes,
and that human connection is what we so need, and we need to be able to maintain that. And yes, technology is lovely, but it's still just a tool. And so if we can keep that in mind, and just know that we're here on this planet to connect with one another, not necessarily use computers to the computers are still a tool, but they are not our ultimate end all and be all. It's still
definitely.
that personal connection. Which brings me to my next question. Let's talk about connection. So if someone wants to be able to connect with you, what is the best place for people to do that?
Well, in terms of real connection, I love LinkedIn.
Mm.
So, in terms of any social media, that's my favorite platform. You can find me there with my name, Christine Franklyn, with Lyn at the end. I'm the only one. And also, I have a new website, contentforhealers.com.
Mm.
So, you can also connect with me through that website. And I'd love to hear any feedback that anyone who has happened to catch this has, and anything that you'd like to discuss with me.
All right. Well, I'll definitely be sure and have that in the all that information in the show notes as well. And I guess, is there anything else that before we finish up here today, is there anything else that I should have asked you, but I didn't?
Well, there's just one little piece of information which you wouldn't have known. I just feel called to also mention that in the midst of everything, it's about making business fit your life and not the other way around.
Mhm.
And I've gone the other way, so I know what I'm talking about. But sometimes life brings us back. So in my case, I have become my mother's primary caregiver. And that's one thing that brought me back to what's truly important. And everything else needs to work around that now, what I need to do to serve her. So it's important to remember that even if the work we do is serving others, remember that there are loved ones that are right here with us that we also need to be there for. So that's just something I'd like to share because I see many helpers and healers fall into this almost a little rabbit hole of getting so caught up with helping others. Sometimes they forget about what's right in front of them or the
Mhm.
people who are right in front of them.
Yeah, absolutely. That is so important because as much as we want our businesses to thrive, we do have to remember that it's just one piece of our life, and
Yes.
that it starts with, we mentioned at the beginning, it starts with you, starts with self-care, making sure that you take care of yourself. But if you are then a caregiver for someone else, that is also why it is so important to take care of you first. You got to fill your cup up so that then you're going to be able to take care of someone else, like you're doing with your mom. And I'm sure she appreciates you being there for her, and that you're having this ability to have a business helps, and being able to support, to support yourself, but it's not going to be the thing that takes up all of your time. And so that's where it's so important to make sure that you have a team and things like that, so that nothing is, the whole weight of the business isn't just relying on your shoulders, so that you can have a life outside of the business and be able to take care of those you love. So, yeah, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate that.
Oh, you're most welcome.
Mm. Well, I'm so glad that we were able to have you on the show today, and you definitely shared a lot of good information to help people, especially business owners, to be able to run their business in a way that is going to be sustainable, and to be able to manage things and not get burnt out in the process. So I appreciate that.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. This has been a wonderful conversation. So I hope that there's been something in here for everyone to take away. And it's been great being here.
No, I'm sure everyone received some value out of it, and make sure that you do connect with Christine on LinkedIn if you want to know more about her. And always, I encourage you to subscribe to the show if you aren't subscribed already. So make sure you do that. And as always, I love to remind you to go out today and every day. And actually, I'm going to share one quick thing first, because I noticed, for those of you listening, you weren't able to see on Christine's wall, she has a sign that says "Live, Love, Laugh." And so I love that. But I'm also going to encourage you to live fully, love deeply, and engage authentically.